Welcome to The Loving and Effective Parent. My name is James Shaver. Today we are going to finish up this video series with two of the most common ways to fail. Special considerations for younger children, little last minute coaching, and the two real life stories, and the surprise benefit of success. Now, if you haven't seen part 1 or part 2, you really do need to. This video won't even make any sense without those other two. There are links in the description. Part 1 covers 6 concepts and realities we need to understand before we set up our personal boundary and start shutting down disrespectful behaviors. Part 2 covers how to actually establish and maintain our personal boundary using what we learned in part 1. So you need to see them in order. Okay, let's get started. In part 2, we looked at how to establish our personal boundary with the Lucas and Olivia scenarios. But what if the parents don't stick to the plan? What if the parents give in? That's one of the two most common ways to fail. Lucas gets his cookies and Olivia gets a quick ride to the mall, even though they never asked nicely. Okay, Lucas, I will get you some cookies because you are so hungry. But next time you need to ask me nicely. And I mean it. When parents add something like, and I mean it, they're already in trouble. Trying to prop up ineffective words with more ineffective words does not make our words more effective. It makes them less effective. Olivia, I will drive you to the mall right now because you are in such a hurry. But next time ask me nicely. Do you hear me? Can you remember that? The thing is, Olivia has no intention of remembering. And she already forgot what her mom just said before she even gets in the car. I don't mean to be harsh, but I see this stuff all the time. We need to understand what is really going on. The parents might be hoping against hope that giving in earns them some points with their children. It does not. Instead, Lucas and Olivia have just gained more confidence, more determination, and more disregard for their parents. The parents have completely undermined their personal boundary and pretty much guaranteed more disrespectful behaviors in the future. Don't forget about variable reinforcement and the slot machines. We need to understand what's actually going on and how this works. We all need to be honest with ourselves. Are we giving in? And what is that really costing us and our children? Are we setting ourselves up to hack away at the branches out here forever or for the rest of our parenting lives? That's what happens when we give in. But what about the double troubles? Using parental poisons or empty words is the other most common way to fail. What if the parents start yelling or scolding or retaliating or comparing or threatening or any other of the parental poisons? Or what if they just keep talking and talking? Especially with words that are not connected to anything real. Lucas, I will not be spoken to that way. Why can't you be nice? Why do you treat me like that? Your sister never treats me like that. I never treated my parents like that. Blah, 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 blah. If you think Lucas is still listening, you are only kidding yourself. Olivia, don't you dare think you can push me around like that. I will not be treated like that. Keep it up, I will take your phone away for a month. With all that I do for you, showing me a little appreciation once in a while wouldn't kill you. What is the mom even talking about? How did the conversation get there? We need to understand how completely off track and counterproductive these kinds of responses are. Whatever happened to not engaging with our children until they ask us nicely? Why are we talking? When we flail about like that, we are not establishing or maintaining our personal boundary. We are doing just the opposite. we are inviting our children to treat us even worse the next time. We certainly are not being a firm, friendly robot with a plan. Getting off track is bad enough, but many times it leads to confrontations that become heated and ugly. I have talked with children after these kinds of confrontations. The number one takeaway for almost every single child I talk to: my parents are jerks and I hate dealing with them. That was it. That was what they remembered above all else. When I asked about the original issue, most kids just shrugged their shoulders. Their memory was completely hijacked by their emotions, usually anger. They did not seem to learn a single thing. Okay, that's a big problem. My parents are jerks and I hate dealing with them is the only thing that stuck with these kids. That is the only thing that the parents accomplished with their misguided words. Let that sink in. This is why we do our very best firm, friendly robot with a plan when our children ask us for something rudely. We don't want to give them any distractions or any kind of excuses to behave badly or think that we're jerks. Now, that doesn't guarantee they won't do those things anyway, but we significantly lower the odds that they might. And that makes it much more likely that our children will actually stay focused on this. When I ask rudely, my parents won't even consider my request, and I never get what I want. Anything we say or do that is not keeping our children focused on that reality is not helping. We really need to understand that. Remember, that reality, never getting what they want, us not engaging, that reality is the teacher, not our words. That reality is what we are depending on to get our children to change their behavior. We need to shut our mouths and stick to the plan. With younger children, we have much more control because little kids can't do a whole lot on their own. They are much more dependent on us to get through their day. Here's 3 things that we need to consider. 1, young children are incredibly eager learners. From age 0 to 4, they are learning about life and developing new skills and learning to speak at an astonishing rate. Babies and young children are hardwired to observe the people around them and copy their behavior. And they are really good at it. Learning how to do what big people do is a huge deal for them. We've all seen this. That's why it's so important to model good manners and healthy relationships. If we don't want our children to disrespect us, we need to consistently demonstrate respect and kindness. We need to ask our children nicely and treat them with respect. Now, not modeling what we are expecting from our children is an unforced error that we really can't afford. That's the polite way to say not modeling what we are expecting from our children is just plain stupid. Yeah, I said it and I mean it. It's one of the dumbest things we can do, especially with younger children who are hardwired to copy us. I've asked parents to hand a toddler or a young child a fake or a real phone and observe what happens. Most children will make pretend calls and imitate their parents with surprising accuracy. Don't think for a moment your younger children are not studying and copying you. Later in the teenage years, if we are not modeling what we are expecting from them, they will resent us deeply for it. Okay, the second thing. Sometimes parents assume that their young children know something when they actually don't. When your children are happy, not when there's conflict, that's never a good time to teach anything. Playfully make sure that they know what good manners are. Practice good manners and respect in various scenarios, both real and pretend, with your children. Keep repeating and reinforcing the lessons until they really get it. Have a pretend tea party and exaggerate the polite behavior. Most kids love that kind of thing. Run through specific examples. What's a nice way to ask me for help? What's a nice way to ask for more? Work the other side as well. What's a mean or a not nice way to ask? Ask your children for something in an exaggerated and mean way. Let them try it. Have fun with it. Make it a positive experience. We do not want our children only associating manners with judgment and discipline. We want good manners to be associated with happy and fun relationships. The goal is to make sure our children know what nice looks like and also what not nice looks like. Don't assume they already know. Okay, the third thing. Now, just because a child is young does not mean we lower our standards. We still only accept completely nice. But depending on their age and abilities, we can help and coach them a little bit. But we don't want to overdo it. My experience has been that most parents significantly underestimate what their children are capable of. We can prod a young child along in countless ways. Here are some examples. I would love to get your ball down when you ask me nicely. Do you think that was a nice way to ask me or a not nice way to ask me? And the classic, what are the magic words? Do whatever helps, but keep pushing your children forward. Keep requiring more and more from them until they always ask nicely the first time without being reminded. Then there's always the I can't hear you game, and it can be quite effective. In this game, when a young child is being rude or disrespectful, we pretend we can't hear them. We explain the game and then we try to have fun with it. When your young child asks you rudely for something, act like you did not hear them. It's that simple. Or if you want to go a little bit more playful, or if you think that might be better, you can sort of ham it up a little bit and go, I think I hear something. What's that noise? You get the idea. There's all kinds of ways you can do that. Most children will giggle and correct themselves. Some children won't want to play along, and that's fine. Just go quiet, don't engage with them, and wait them out. Just stick to the normal plan. If children escalate the situation by raising their voices or pushing or hitting or anything like that, we become serious. We get down on their level and look them right in the eye. We might need to gently put our hands on their shoulders. I will listen to you when you are being nice. And then we disengage. Don't forget to disengage. The next move is theirs. Now, I don't want there to be any confusion about that. That is not the same thing as withdrawing love from a child or to punish or manipulate behavior. We should never do that, ever. In this situation, the child has complete control over when we will engage with them. And when the child does comply, we need to respond quickly and warmly without holding their past behavior against them. Thank you so much for asking me nicely. That makes me so happy. A quick point before we move on. When a young child is completely overwhelmed by hunger or fatigue or whatever, that child needs to recover before we try to accomplish or teach anything. Working our way through the process of establishing our personal boundary is when, where, and how we gain the understanding we need, the skills we need, and the confidence we need to successfully shut down disrespectful behaviors. It's in the actual doing that we deepen our understanding, develop our skills, and build our confidence. The truth is, if you think about it, we can't really understand or know how to do anything until we try actually doing it. That's when the real learning begins. Think about learning how to drive, or learning how to cook, or learning how to play tennis, or anything else that you've learned how to do. Parenting is no different. Parenting is not some unique, special thing we should automatically know how to do. We have to learn how to do it just like anything else. Now, yes, admittedly, parenting can be completely overwhelming because it has way too many parts and pieces. But each part and piece, if we break it down, is no harder to learn than anything else. The piece that we are working on right now, not accepting any disrespect from our children when they want something from us. So that's the piece that we're focused on. These two concepts can help us with that. The first concept, approach real-life parenting situation as an opportunity to practice your parenting. That can take so much of the pressure off. With a practice mentality, we can relax and focus on what we are working on. We have the freedom to learn and try things without the pressure. The parents I know who have tried this noticed a significant change. They were much more relaxed and focused. The process itself became both comforting and highly motivating because their progress became more consistent and dependable. The best attitude that you could possibly have: my child is graciously giving me yet another opportunity to improve my parenting skills, and I am going to make the most of it. That kind of an attitude can make all the difference. The second concept, slowing down time, or slow down and take the time. Almost always, unless our kid is about to set something on fire or run into the street, we have more time to respond carefully and thoughtfully to a parenting situation than we think we do. That is definitely the case when our children are asking us for something rudely. We have plenty of time, no matter how hard our children are trying to rush us. We need to take advantage of this reality and train ourselves to stay calm, observe and evaluate the situation before we say or do anything. Most of the parents I work with who have tried this are surprised by how much time there really is. They are also surprised by how quickly they improved. It became much easier to stay calm and relaxed when they worked on it. Their observations and evaluations became significantly more accurate and reliable, and that in turn really increased their confidence. So, how do we apply the practice mentality and slow down time concepts to establishing our personal boundary? All right, the first thing we need to do is think it through. What do you think is going to be the hardest part for you? What are you the most afraid of? Be specific. What do you need to work on? What should you work on first? Write it down if that helps. Practice in front of a mirror. Be prepared. Know what you are going to try and do the next time. And yes, there will always be a next time until we master this. Picture it in your head. Imagine yourself being successful. Imagine your best version of a firm, friendly robot with a plan. Then, the next time your child asks you for something rudely, slow down time and practice what you are working on. If you tend to overreact, no words, no actions, no judgment, no nothing, until you are in control of yourself and ready to speak calmly and effectively. If you are intimidated or afraid, take a few deep breaths. Relax. You have time. Self-talk your confidence up and shift into acting mode. Fake it till you make it is your new goal in life. If you are usually afraid to stand up to your children, try something like this. Just to see what happens, just to see what you can learn. With good eye contact and as much confidence as you can muster, calmly ask, "Why should I do something for you when you treat me like that? Why would I do that?" Pay close attention to how your child is reacting. And also keep track of what your emotions are doing. Be genuinely curious. Curious tends to push the panic and other distractions away, and it helps you focus. Keep up the eye contact, even if you are freaking out inside. Don't say another word. Observe, learn, be curious, wait for an answer. What do you think your child is thinking as they look back at you? What is your confidence and anxiety up to? Enjoy being a curious scientist in the middle of a fascinating experiment. If you keep trying things like that, if you keep experimenting that way, you will develop the skills and the confidence to control yourself and gain the psychological strength that you need to calmly look your children in the eye and hold them accountable. Practicing in real life with real children in real time is the best way to get really good at this. There aren't any other ways. You need to just keep doing it. Remember, all you have to do is let them know that you are not going to do anything for them when they ask you rudely. That's all you have to do. And then hold your ground. Trust the plan and make it work for you. When the interaction is over, don't focus on whether you won or lost. Focus on what you learned. What did you do well? Where did you get off track? Are you getting a better feel for this? What specific thing are you going to work on next time? If you had some success, congratulate yourself and be happy. And get ready for the next time. If you ended up blowing it, calm down, recover, and forgive yourself. Apologize to your child if appropriate. And when you are ready, analyze what went wrong and why. There is so much we can learn from messing up if we pay attention. Take advantage of that and get ready for the next time. Okay, it's time for the stories I promised. Hopefully they will inspire and encourage everybody. The first story comes from a mom in a parenting class I was teaching in New York City. The class met every Thursday evening for 7 weeks, and I always gave homework. The homework I gave that week: go home and establish your personal boundary. And next week, you can tell us how it's going. So, a little background first. This mom had 2 teenage daughters, 15 and 17, who treated her horribly. And I mean horribly. No physical abuse, but everything just short of that. Plenty of emotional abuse and disrespect. Lots of bad language. This had been going on for years. When I asked her, do your daughters still get what they want, even though they treat you so poorly? She lowered her head and stared at her desk and, almost crying, said, yes. The next week, this mom was the first to raise her hand. She looked like she was about to burst at the seams. I did exactly what you said, and it didn't work. Everybody in the class turned to me. I will never forget that moment. I tried not to panic or blush, but I could feel the blood rushing to my face. Please explain further. Everybody in the class turned back to the mom while I braced myself for whatever was about to happen. Well, I told my daughters things were going to change. And I did what you said and started not accepting any disrespect when my daughters wanted something from me. And it was horrible. They got so mad at me. They got meaner and meaner. They yelled things at me. I will not say in this class. It had never been that bad. This went on for 2 whole days, but I kept doing what you said. I almost cried a few times, but I didn't give in. It was horrible. I went to bed that second night thinking, I can't do this anymore. Everything is getting worse. The next morning, my oldest daughter came at me like always. I don't even remember what she wanted, but I didn't want to deal with her at all. And then it happened. Before I could get my thoughts together, my daughter literally stopped herself and backed up half a step. She mumbled, "I'm sorry," and looked confused. Then she tried to ask me nicely. I say tried because she was so awkward and uncomfortable. She hadn't asked me nicely for anything in years. She wouldn't even look at me. She finally got out a reasonably nice request for something. Like I said, I don't even remember what it was. I was in complete shock. But that was the moment everything changed. She paused and wiped away a tear. We were all on the edge of our seats. Everything changed, and it stayed changed. I don't really know how. I don't know if my daughters talked with each other the night before or whatever, but everything is different now. Actually, it's kind of funny. My daughters will come at me like before and then quickly apologize and start over and ask me nicely. I can't believe what's happening. And this is the best part. She wiped away a few more tears. By the end of the week, my daughters and me were actually enjoying being with each other. That hasn't happened in so long. We even did a few things together, like when they were younger. They were being nice to me even when they didn't want something. It was like I got my daughters back. At that point, she was not the only one wiping away a tear. I don't remember if we all clapped for her or not. I'm sure we probably did. But I do know that that mom became my hero that day. She stood up to her daughters. She held her ground, and she earned their respect. I have no idea how she kept it together for those 2 horrifying days. Her daughters were crazy out of control. And then the sudden change from full attack mode to humble compliance? To this day, I have not seen anything quite that extreme. It was unbelievable. Hopefully, none of you will have to go through anything that challenging, but if you do, remember this mom. Yeah, I will not forget that class ever. And I was pretty new to teaching back then. Okay, the second story is a little less intense. This mom was in a group of 4 moms that I parent coached. We met once a week for 8 weeks. She decided she was going to shut down her 3 elementary and middle school age daughters' disrespectful and wild behaviors and regain control of her household. I met these girls. I knew it was going to be a challenge. The mom learned soon enough her daughters were not going down without a fight. The more she tried, the harder they pushed back. They even slipped hate notes under her bedroom door late at night. One daughter turned in a story assignment to her teacher titled, "The 3 Lovely Daughters and the Meanest Mommy in the Whole World." Did you catch that? The 3 lovely daughters and the meanest mommy in the whole world. The mom didn't know about the story or the assignment, and the conversation she had with the teacher after getting a call from the school had us in stitches. I'm not kidding. Some of us teared up. We were laughing so hard. Every week after that, we couldn't wait to hear about her latest adventures. Serious stuff, but so funny the way she told it. You could tell she loved and admired her daughters, and she never gave up on them. With the help of the group, it took about 3 weeks for her to get control of her household and shut down the disrespectful behaviors. At one meeting, she brought the latest note from her oldest child that ended with, "I love you." The last I heard, they were still doing great. Now, I've got many more stories. Each story is different, but they tend to follow the same pattern. Initial resistance that usually gets worse, but not always, but it usually gets worse before it gets better. And then compliance. Sometimes resentful compliance at first, but genuine compliance follows soon enough. That is, when the parents stick to the plan and behave well and don't give up. Now, one part of these stories might have surprised you, but not me. That is the restored relationship part. I see this happen all the time. When we establish our personal boundary, when we parent effectively, parent-child relationships get better, not worse. Watching that happen is definitely one of the more rewarding parts of my job. I love watching that happen. Unfortunately, some of us avoid confronting our children and holding them accountable because we're afraid that they will hate or resent us for it. If that's you, hopefully this section will help you put those fears to rest once and for all. Do you remember what the mom said in the first story? It's like I got my daughters back. And the second mom went from getting hate notes to a love note. Those changes happened because the parents confronted their children and held them accountable. Successfully establishing our personal boundary is one of the best things we can do for our parent-child relationships. But only if we behave. If we resort to yelling, scolding, lecturing, or any other parental poison, our children will hate and resent that. When that happens, it's not the confronting or holding them accountable that's the problem. It's how we did it. It's the parental poisons. We need to understand that. Loving and effective discipline is what gets the good results, the changed behavior, and the restored relationships. Think about the two teenage daughters and their mom. The mom was desperately trying to stop her daughter's abusive behaviors. She wasn't thinking about restored relationships at all. She was just trying to survive. But she stuck with the plan. She held the line and followed through. And the results were beyond her wildest dreams and a complete surprise to her. And a little bit for me also at that point. That mom's story was told in the second parenting class I ever taught. I was brand new to this. At that point, I was not fully aware of how much loving and effective discipline could improve parent-child relationships. That was something that quickly became more and more obvious to me. By the time I coached the mom with the 3 lovely daughters, I was well aware of that connection. I told this mom ahead of time her relationships with her children would improve if she stuck with the plan. She was pretty skeptical about that, especially when she got the kind of pushback that she got. The hate note slipped under the door, but by the end, she was a happy and fully committed believer. She learned what her children really needed from her. The truth is, deep down inside, our children want us to be able to handle them easily. You heard that right. They want us to be able to handle them easily. That makes their world safe and secure. Yes, they may fight it, or never admit it, or even be aware of it. But that does not change the reality behind that truth one bit. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to unpack that reality, but it does play a part in why our parent-child relationships improve when we establish our personal boundary. Here are 4 more reasons, and every single one of them is a huge win-win for us and our children. 1, we have gained the understanding, the skills, and the confidence to handle our children in a more respectful and effective manner. 2, we have learned, usually through trial and error and lots of practice, how to better control our emotions, words, and body language in real situations in real time. 3, we have earned our children's respect by establishing, maintaining, and modeling a healthy personal boundary. That earned respect changes everything because we cannot really parent effectively without some respect. We can parent effectively at moments when our children don't like us, but without the respect, we're in trouble. And as a wonderful bonus, our children get to see and experience a healthy personal boundary in action. That teaches them more than 100 lectures ever could. 4, the children become much easier to like. They are more fun to be with. Yeah, I said it. I'm not talking about unconditional love, which should remain constant. No, I'm simply pointing out that self-regulated, respectful children are so much more pleasant to be around. We can enjoy all kinds of fun family activities and adventures without worrying about behavior issues. That is what I want for you. That is what I want for your children. And don't forget, what we learn about ourselves and our children, the understanding and confidence that we gain, and the skills we develop while establishing our personal boundary, give us a great head start for more challenging issues, where we don't have the advantage of our children wanting something from us. Like when we want something from them. That's next level stuff. And we will have real trouble succeeding with that next level stuff if we don't have the solid foundation of an established and well-maintained personal boundary to work from. That's why this is so important. We must keep going until not accepting any disrespect from our children when they want something from us becomes second nature. We don't even have to think about it. We just do it. And we do it well. So, please do not quit when things get better. Sadly, I've seen many parents, and I've worked with some parents, who quit early because they were very content with the improvements. It's so much better than it used to be. Don't you do that. Don't you cheat yourself or your children. Go the full distance. Get to the point where all it takes is a firm, friendly look from you. Get to the point where complete compliance is the only compliance you accept. Remember, your children are depending on you to do this for them. Well, it's time to wrap things up. Here's my next step suggestion. Continue your mastery of consequences. I say continue because when our children ask us rudely and we do not engage with them and they never get what they want, that's a consequence. But there is so much more to effective consequences than that. To learn more, check out my video series on consequences in the description. I would like to end with this. You can do this. I know you can do this. I've worked with many parents. You can do this. Every single one of you. Now, for some of you, it will be harder than you thought. And for others of you, it will be easier than you thought. Either way, do not accept any disrespect from your children when they want something from you. Thanks for watching. And remember, loving and effective is always the best way to go. One more thing before I go. I'm pretty excited about these videos. If these videos helped you, could you please help me spread the word? I'm not great at social media, but together we can really make a difference. Think of all the families we can help and encourage. So please like, subscribe, and definitely share. That's the most important. I can't do this without you. Thanks.